People drive on a motorbike past a collapsed building in Mandalay on March 28, 2025, after an earthquake in central Myanmar. A powerful earthquake rocked central Myanmar on March 28th, buckling roads in capital Naypyidaw, damaging buildings and forcing people to flee into the streets in neighboring Thailand. I was praying that they had survived, but when I got here and saw the ruin, where could they be? In which corner? Are they still alive? I am still praying that all 6 are alive, said 45-year-old Naruemol Thonglek, sobbing as she awaited news about her partner, who is from Myanmar, and 5 friends who worked at the site. I cannot accept this. When I see this, I can't accept this. A close friend of mine is in there too, she said. Winefet Panta said she hadn't heard from her daughter Kanlayani since a phone call about an hour before the quake. A friend told her Kanlayani had been working high on the building on Friday. I am praying my daughter is safe, that she has survived and that she's at the hospital, she said, Kanlayani's father sitting beside her. Thai authorities said that the quake and aftershocks were felt in most of the country's provinces. Many places in the north reported damage to residential buildings, hospitals, and temples, including in Chiang Mai, but the only casualties were reported in Bangkok, Myanmar. Sits on a major fault line, earthquakes are rare in Bangkok but relatively common in Myanmar. The country sits on the Sagaing Fault, a major north-south fault that separates the India Plate and the Sunda Plate. Brian Bapty, a seismologist with the British Geological Survey, said it appears a 200-kilometer, 125-mile section of the fault, ruptured for just over a minute, with a slip of up to 5 meters, 16.4 feet, in places, causing intense ground shaking in an area where most of the population lives in buildings constructed of timber and unreinforced brick masonry. When you have a large earthquake in an area where there are over 1 million people, many of them living in vulnerable buildings, the consequences can often be disastrous, he said in a statement. From initial reports, that seems likely to be the case here. A natural disaster on top of a civil war, Myanmar's government said blood was in high demand in the hardest-hit areas. In a country where prior governments sometimes have been slow to accept foreign aid, Min Aung Hlaing said Myanmar was ready to accept outside assistance. Myanmar's military seized power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi in February 2021 and is now involved in a bloody civil war with long-established militias and newly formed pro-democracy ones. Military forces continued their attacks even after the quake, with 3 airstrikes in northern Kayin State, also called Karenni State, and southern Shan, both of which border Mandalay State, said Dave Eubank, a former U.S. Special Forces soldier who founded the Free Burma Rangers, a humanitarian aid organization that has provided assistance to both combatants and civilians in Myanmar since the 1990s. Eubank told the Associated Press that in the area he was operating in, most villages have already been destroyed by the military, so the earthquake had little impact. People are in the jungle, and I was out in the jungle when the earthquake hit. It was powerful, but the trees just moved. That was it for us. So we haven't had a direct impact other than that the Burma army keeps attacking, even after the quake, he said. In northern Shan, an airstrike on a rebel-controlled village just minutes after the earthquake killed 7 militia members and damaged 5 buildings, including a school, Mai Ruko, editor of a Shan-based online media, Shui Fi. Maya news agency told the AP government forces have lost control of much of Myanmar, and many places are incredibly dangerous or simply impossible for aid groups to reach. More than 3 million people have been displaced by the fighting, and nearly 20 million are in need, according to the United Nations. Although a full picture of the damage is still emerging, most of us have never seen such destruction, said Haider Yaqub, Myanmar country director for the NGO Plan International from Yangon. Without a doubt, the humanitarian needs will be significant. Rescue groups head to Myanmar. China and Russia are the largest suppliers of weapons to Myanmar's military and were among the first to step in with humanitarian aid. China said it has sent more than 135 rescue personnel and experts along with supplies like medical kits and generators, and pledged some $13.8 million in emergency humanitarian aid. Russia's emergencies ministry said it had flown in 120 rescuers and supplies. India also sent a search and rescue team and a medical team, and Malaysia said it would send 50 people on Sunday. South Korea said it would provide $2 million worth of humanitarian aid through international organizations, and the UN allocated $5 million to start relief efforts. President Donald Trump said Friday that the U.S. was going to help with the response, but some experts were concerned about this effort, given his administration's deep cuts in foreign assistance.